Namaste. Welcome to Nepal's Top 7 Debaters 2013 produced by Today's Youth Asia. This is the semi-final round in the English category of bachelor's level.
The topic for today's debate is, in the pretext of restoration, antiques of temples are replaced.
Now I'd like to introduce our panel of judges for today's semi-final round. Our first judge is Mr. Santosh Shah. He is the president of Today's Youth Asia.
Our second judge is Mr. Rabindra Puri. He is a culture heritage conservationist.
Our third judge is Mr. Fishman. He is an assistant professor of economics at George Washington University. He is specialized in sustainable development.
May I request our first participant, Ms. Pratistha Paneru, to speak for the motion. She is from grade Bachelor studying at Prime Chartered Accountancy.
There are 1,262 temples in Nepal. This I knew from the UNESCO 1997 report. Then I searched for more UNESCO reports. I went seeking details to the archaeological department, but I could not find the list of temple idols and statues of my own country. This was when I realized how easy it would be to replace or steal these artifacts when nobody actually knows how many of them exist. And it would be even more easier if all this was covered by a veil, popularly known as restoration. Replacement of temple idols and antiques in the name of restoration dates back to centuries. For instance, in the 20th century, Angkor Wat, the largest Hindu temple and religious monument in the world, was restored, only to find the theft and destruction of mostly post-Angkorian statues. Another example may be the conversion of sacred textiles from Bolivia for commercial purposes in the pretext of restoration. How often do we hear temple idols and antiques being replaced or theft in the name of restoration? According to our archaeological department and the Kathmandu police headquarters, the figures are not quite interesting. But if we observe, we find that our temple idols are missing from their origin and are being bought at millions of rupees in the international market, even though no record of their theft has been lodged. So, the suspicion has to be credited to the so-called restoration or renovation programs. While the replacement and thefts of this kind rarely come into light, the ones that do are themselves a clear indication that the irregularities do exist. At the restoration work in Sundari Chowk, the 16th century golden tushahiti was stolen right under the nose of the authorities. Uma Maheshwar, stolen in 1982 and brought back to Nepal from Berlin Museum, was planned to be retained at Patan Museum and the original site be restored with the replica of the idol. Also, we have many other examples where our idols have been stolen and sold in the international markets. Even in outer countries like in Tamil Nadu, systematic gangs pose themselves as priests, collectors, renovators or restorers and steal or replace the original temple antiques. Talking about other things that are related to the restoration, in the most recent happenings, the restoration work at Manakamana could not take off initially due to the differences between authorities, priests and locals. While budget was one other problem, the locals also feared that the temple antiques could be replaced or the temple property misused in the name of restoration. Well, yes, there are renovations or restorations where the damaged idols are replaced, but then we don't actually know where the original idols go. Those original idols, which even in their damaged form, can gain a handsome reward to its sellers. So, why are we allowing our temple idols to be drawn away from their origin and sold to adorn the Western homes and museums? That also in the name of restoration, where we know loose ends and loopholes exist. Actually, it is high time that we renovate the restoration system. Thank you.
Pratistha, very good debate as usual.
Thank you, sir.
We have known you as a very good debater, and today is not an exception for that. Semi-final topic is always very tough. Very good start. You combined data with the logic, which is an amazing combination in a debate. However, few things that were missing were the local examples. Like, okay, who does the restoration? Who funds it? We all know there is a monetary interest, but which are the organizations that does the restorations? And probably if there has been any cases filed against them for thefts, and whether the government on a central level or a local level, do they have funds or interest to restore? Because I know there are a couple of projects that happens here or there based on that. And what I also liked about your debate today is you brought a lot of global examples from Cambodia to South America And the fact that you mentioned that this stealing of artifacts and antiques is not just 30 years old or 40 years old. You dated it back to 200-300 years or even longer. So those were very, very good aspects of your debating, and I was very impressed.
Thank you, sir.
Pratishta, well done.
Thank you, sir.
And the example of Tu Sahiti was a very good example. There are hundreds of examples like that, but you picked one of the good one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think your statement, your debate was very powerful, evocative. I agree it balanced very nicely emotion, but was still grounded in facts. So I echo some of the previous remarks. Very good statement. My one issue is more about the content and the logical flow. Even if we accept, and we are forced to accept after your speech, that this is a shameful phenomenon and needs to be stopped, the connection to restoration was not logically sufficiently established for me. For example, I would have loved to know what would be the other possibility. If there were no restoration activities, do we have any reason to believe there would be less theft? So we are aware there are these two negative phenomena going on, but are they really linked to one another? And would ceasing to do restoration work, would it solve the problem or not, or maybe even exacerbate it? So that's my only comment, otherwise very powerful.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to call up on stage Malika Amatya to speak against the motion. She's studying in bachelor's level at Everest College.
Not every old thing can be said and antique by any ordinary people. It is declared by specific organizations like Department of Archaeology. So before debating on antiques being replaced, we gotta be sure about its declaration made by Department of Archaeology as an antique or not. In addition to that, there are strict laws like Ancient Monument Preservation Act 1956, which prohibits tampering with, selling off, transporting or even renovating antiques older than 100 years without consulting the Department of Archaeology. So under these strict laws and this concerned organization, to accuse of replacements being done in the pretext of restoration is a bit no sense thing for me, because I think my opponents are really confused of this to reality of antiques being replaced and antiques being stolen. Because if we go back to the time, there might be more cases of antiques being stolen, not replaced at all. The Panchayat period can be taken as a big example to that. That was the period when most of the statues of gods and antiques were stolen, my dear friends, not replaced under any kind of restoration project. In addition to that, now what I would like to say is I want to be a little bit clear about a thing that nothing lasts forever. So how can we be so sure of these antiques lasting forever? It's our job, because sooner or later they are going to come in a state where they will be diminishing and where they will be losing their existence. It's our job to just revive them, to keep them existing, and in that process, while we create something exactly like that just to keep them alive, if my opponents are naming it as replacement, I really do not agree to it. And to be a little practical and a bit less spiritual now, our country on the per capita based GDP is ranked on 173rd country. We are in need of food for hungry stomach rather than being so concerned about all of these things. So if we keep them alive, because something is definitely better than nothing, that will attract tourists to our country, because our country is known for the richness of cultural heritage that eventually will help in the growth of economic growth of the country, I suppose. Being a bit logical, we know how much we Nepalese are forward in going against anything. A little dissatisfaction is turned out into strikes and shutdowns. So if any such thing, a replacement would have been such a big issue, we would have definitely raised our voice against it. We would have stood against it. So if it hasn't happened yet, I don't think any replacement things really exist or anything like that. We can take an example of Swayambhu Restoration Project, which is successfully accomplished without any of the replacement issue my opponents are talking. And Patan Darbar Square Restoration Project is also going on with no replacement issue at all. Thank you.
Malika, very well done. Yeah, what I liked is, our culture is not death culture like in Egypt. In our culture, it's still a live culture, and that's the unique part of our culture if we compare it with other beautiful culture in the world. So I am also against replacement. I mean, this is a living culture. It should remain alive, and that's the uniqueness. And so what I also liked is how that you mentioned about the law. And of course, restoration has to be done, but it has to be controlled. And unfortunately, the institution who should control it, like Department of Archaeology, even things disappear from Department of Archaeology and from the museums, which is our bad luck. Let's hope that we will have better bureaucrats in coming future. So very well done, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Malika, thanks for this very fine statement. You obviously chose the harder side of this debate, so I'll try to take into account, but I'll still try to be equally tough on everybody. So I think the way you presented your argument in terms of the presentation was really very effective.
Thanks.
Very strong. I really appreciated that. I have to take issue with one of your arguments. I think that in terms of for a country that's still struggling economically, obviously bringing in tourism is a primary target, but I can assure you as a foreigner, and I believe that whether you are a pilgrim or you are just a tourist, the value of the presence of a really old original piece can never be replaced by a new substitute. So I think the argument about bringing tourists like pilgrims will have much less interest in seeing a new piece. So it will not really contribute to maintaining of tourism as an income-generating activity substitution. I assure you that maintaining the old original ones is by far unparalleled and unreplaceable strategy for bringing more tourists.
Definitely so, thank you.
Malika, the topic is very tricky, and I'm glad that you actually picked it up pretty well. You even took the topic to the next level. So that's what I like about your debating today. Today, among all the debates that you have done in the past, today is the most impressive one.
Thank you,
you have used the language very well, simple language. You're very clear with your expression. However, a couple of things is your debate today more sounded like an awareness speech and awareness program rather than a debate, because you already have Pratishta who have spoken for the motion. And you have to take that into consideration when you are going to be the second debater. You gave some very good logic and a lot of viewpoints, but the data and research was lacking, because the Ministry of Culture and Archaeology Department alone is not going to suffice, do the justice to this very in-depth issue. I mean, I think we are the first. This is the first time a subject or a debate like this is coming up as a debate. And we have our judge, Mr. Rabindra Puri. He has been raising these issues a lot. But as a debate on a national TV, this is the first time it's coming up. So that basically means the content itself does not exist much in the... It's not like we are debating about whether women should get the citizenship rights or not, where there are 20,000 debates that's going on. So that's why that's the trick of the topic, is it's very difficult to get the contents. And hopefully in the rebuttal round we try to pick up on that.
Thank you, sir.
Our next debater is Ms. Marika Casey, who is speaking for the motion. She is studying in grade Bachelor's at St. Xavier's College.
It's very important for us to understand that replacements during restoration are done not just for the sake of material intervention, but values are transmitted and generated out of it. We Nepalese share a special bond with our temples, not only for worshipping, but then they lead to an ever-increased contemplation, understanding of our history, and enjoyment for both local people as well as the visitors. So if antiques break or wear out due to the time factor, they are replaced as a matter of fact. As the Earth's climate patterns change, so do the environmental conditions governing these temples change. The bad impact of temperature, light, bodily humidity, vegetational and fungus growth, microbiological agents such as insects, and in cases of Nepal, even monkeys, earthquakes, AC drain have all given rise to a deplorable state of the temples. I would like to tell my opponents that by replacements, it's not about putting up anything bizarre and awful that would falsify the historical evidence. Rather, it's about using the similar tone, texture, structure, and size while replacing these antiques. Mainly the wooden struts, known as tudals, frames, lost doors and windows, rafters of the roofs that are found in a damaged, unsettled, and compressed state are replaced. Example, the Darbar Square of Kathmandu, the restoration of Lakshmi Narayan Temple and Kageshwar Mahadev Temple. I would also like to tell them that it's for contemporary better functioning, but with similar aesthetic materials. Another example could be that of the Jagannath temple, which was restored after the earthquake. But even after that, due to poor maintenance, it became necessary to replace its rafters, wall plates, and timber plankings. And even under the law, such as the Venice Charter and ancient monument conservation procedure, under the Archaeology Department of Nepal, replacements can be done for the historical preservation of our masterpieces. I agree that they discourage them, but then they also tolerate them if they are thoroughly researched, documented, and based on old photographs. Example, the Sunima restoration project done by the team of Kathmandu Valley Preservation Trust. 8 wooden struts that were missing were replicated and replaced. And interestingly, the locals seemed to like it because it brought about the vibrancy and spirit of the past. We've all heard about the Acropolis in Greece, haven't we? Yes, in the Acropolis restoration project too, sections of the roof were replaced with new marbles and decorated with blue and gold inserts as in like original. And 186 architectural members were also made up of new marbles. So not just in the national level, but in the international level also, where there is necessary, replacements have been done during restoration. Another very interesting fact about replacement in Nepal is that it's done in a natural way, unlike in the West. Because making those sculptures and carvings, it's done in a very natural way. For a certain group of Newari families residing in Patan and Bhaktapur, carvings and replacements are done using the same tools, in the same manner, by families descended from the original families. So it is a natural way of replacing. Therefore, I would like to say that in the pretext of restoration, antiques have been replaced. Thank you.
Wow, Smarika, that was a very smooth, flowed very well. I thought that you really, I was really impressed by both the delivery and by the strong case you made, reminding us that restoration is not just about replacement and theft, but restoration is actually something that we accept everywhere else, and it's actually of great importance. And you brought out very well different examples and highlighted the special features that prevail in Nepal that make it even more necessary. So congratulations. I found that very powerful.
Thank you.
My one comment is just, again, I think that was also in some of the other debater statements, the logical link. Sure, restoration has its great value and place, but where is the connection to the phenomena of the unnecessary or illegal replacement of old idols? That's what I'm missing to balance. Like, that's a nuance of this topic, right? That's kind of the subtlety, and I just felt like he kind of steered away from that a little bit. So that was the one thing I was missing, but otherwise a lot of great points that were necessary to be made.
Smarika, I must say that you did it also well. Your argumentation and confidence was very good, and okay, you had to speak for, and you were doing justice with what you had to do, but you know, we are in Nepal, no? So it's unfortunately, I don't know if you are aware that more than 80% of artifacts are already stolen from this country, and in most of the cases, also during the restoration. So what you have said, I mean, your logic was very good, but in case of Nepal, you know, it's not like in international arena. So it has to be controlled, and we have to be very, very careful about our artifacts. Well done, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Smarika, I'm glad we didn't lose you for the semi-final. And today was definitely your best performance. I would say this is one of the best performances in this category, besides Pratishta's last in the previous round. You were very clever with the topic, which I liked about it, is you gave a positive turn to the word replacement, because as we understand by the sentence, it basically means stolen, but then you kept the word replaced as it is, and you did a good justice to the topic, and that's where I admire your smartness with today's debate. But as the previous judges said, that to balance that, because we all know the fact also. So if we didn't have the expert judges, then probably we could have just got along with it. But there could have been maybe 20-30% of content based on what the negative aspects of restorations are. However, your research data are very good today. They're very well placed, and there was a very nice flow in your presentation today. which you had a lot of interruptions in the last time. So that's a very good improvement, and I congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
May I invite Anamika Gauchan to speak against the motion? She is studying in bachelor's level at Noble College.
Good afternoon. What actually made me laugh in my last opponent's viewpoints was using the same complete material for the process of restoration. I have an example, a proof. This is the original Jesus painting, which was in one of the European countries in Persia, and it was found. And people thought it would be a tricky way to conserve it by replacing it, or by saying restoring it. So they used the same oil and acrylic paintings. The result, a disaster. So, do you think this old painting can still be replaced by this newer version of its painting, which is, I think, not permanent, which has been permanent? In fact, you cannot replace the essence. The essence that lied in the old Jesus painting has now been reversed into a disaster. Permanence and temporary are two completely different things. Restoration means to completely, permanently, you're trying to temporarily define the artifacts and the cultural heritages. And replacing mean would to completely replace them in a permanent manner. For Hindus like us, we would say we would worship Shiva Linga in the form of linga. And say you replace them with a round circle or in a completely different manner, would that be a Shiva Linga again? Not really. One more example what I like to portray here is the picture that we have on our studio here. Our judges, you have a scene on the behind, and so do I. Do you think the pigeons scattering on the temples of the area would still be there after it is replaced with a modern building of mall, or say a multiplex building with various facilities? That would not be the same Darbar Square or the cultural heritage that it used to be. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Anamika, I don't know why you're nervous or something, but it was definitely disappointing today. I would say you still have a rebuttal round. If you can pull up slightly over there. I like the fact that you use a physical proof to make it your point. It was almost like being in a courtroom when you presented that proof. So I would say I pretty much like that.
Anamika, you really started well, but why did you get nervous? As Santosh said, I hope that in next round you will catch up.
Next round.
I also liked very much you coming out with the physical evidence. Even though it's a little bit removed, I wish you had pulled out of your pocket a really nice idol, but I guess that's hard to do. So that was a very kind of refreshing turn to the debate. I just wish you didn't finish early. I'd like to hear more from you. So
thank you so much.
We now begin with rebuttal round.
Oh, really? My dear opponents, we are not here to know the definition of restoration or replacement, but we are here to know if replacements are done in the name of restorations. And yes, our country attracts lots of tourists, but our country also attracts lots of smugglers annually, and they have numerous ways of taking our idols and antiques to their country, which we are unaware of, and one of the possibilities also being restoration. And talking about the restoration of Patan Darbar Square, Swayambhu, and Hanuman Dhokas, if it was only about preserving values, they would have been restored 2 or 3 years ago, not now, when mice and rats have become the inhabitants of the temple and not our gods. Thank you.
Well, my opponent friend just started off saying that restoration is a way for people to replace and these crimes would be done. It is similar like we don't stop having food getting scared of indigestion. We do have foods and we think of remedy. In a similar way, what we are in need of now is strict security to those antiques, strict government rules and regulations so that they will not be stolen or they will not be replaced, rather than accusing of these things being done at all. And what I would like to say is that the earthquake of 1934 has made a big destruction and most of the temples are destroyed in it, and Temple Bhaidebal is one of them. So these temples are in need of restoration now and the projects are going on. So where does the whole replacement thing come from? I really don't understand this. Thank you.
What my opponents are stressing is a problem-solution mismatch. I think it's very contradictional in itself, because I would say replacements have been done in order to safeguard the threatened antiques. And in case about smuggling and stealing of these artifacts, yes, this has been done during restoration. I think smugglers and looters are attracted to Nepal because of the lenient laws that we have, and they can buy the support that they need by bribing people and all. And some antiques are in a very delicate state. Not replacing them would put them into further danger, so that they would be stolen or damaged by people. Another example from the international scenario would be that of the Little Mermaid statue in Copenhagen, Denmark. It's in the open area, and parts have been stolen away and damaged by people who visit it. So if we do not replace it, or if we do not maintain the temples, then it is more danger, and we cannot prevent it from vandalism. So it's very important that we understand that replacements are also necessary to prevent this. Thank you.
I have 2 points to clarify. First, in Hinduism society, our temples, antique temples, murtis or idols are taken as a member of the family. So, if one of the members of the family is ill or injured, do I replace him or her? Not really, right? We restore them. And another thing is, when I grow old and I have my grandchildren, or say my little grandchildren all around, I would like to take them to the museum and see that's the 18th century artifact, not the modernized 18th century artifact with a polished shine on it. So yes, restoration can be done but cannot be replaced. Thank you.
I request all the debaters to please come up on stage. I'd like to request our judges for their decision.
Anamika, you missed it today. It's going to be sad to lose you today, and it's clear that, however, you're a good debater. I think you have slowed down in the last 2 rounds, this one and the previous one. You started very well though. So I hope you pull back your debating spirit. Malika, you're very close today, and it'll be sad to let you go. And the topic was difficult. A bit of more research could have got you in. And today Smarika did very well, surprisingly. She pulled up compared to the past, and I think that's where you got positioned as third. And Pratishtha, as I said last time, you're ranked second today. So I was not wrong when I said last week that this confidence sometimes does not help, because Uz also ranked you first last time, and I had said that it's very difficult to being successful is one thing, but maintaining success is more difficult. And one should focus more on maintaining the success than actually getting it. Because by chance also you can be successful sometimes. But then maintaining it is more difficult, and it requires a lot of skills to do that. So that's saying, Smarika and Pratishtha, you're the finalist of English category, Bachelor's level of Nepal's Top 7 Debaters 2013. And we'll be seeing you both for the finals. Prepare very well. It's going to be a tough one. Okay? And Malika and Anamika, all the best. I hope you apply for the next year, and don't quit debating. You guys are very good.
Congratulations. The selected debaters will be going to the final round.
Our viewers can send us with debate topics for the upcoming episodes.
You can vote for your favorite debater by liking their photo in our Facebook page.
If you are a student studying from grade 7 to bachelor's level, you can be a part of Nepal's Top 7 Debaters 2014. Our application submission is now open.
You can call the TYA office at 4257-250 or send us an email at youthtya@gmail.com. We will be back next week. Namaste.